Alright, what's good YouTube? Prince here. Back with another video. I'm gonna try and make sure that this video isn't too long. I think just yesterday finished the tournament and stuff, but I kinda wanted to talk about the state of what's been promised in Season 2, because I know Season 2 hasn't officially started yet, and that's perfectly fine. But I've been seeing a lot of people make videos like Mike Hollow. Well, let me turn off the I don't know, sometimes people might find this distracting. Anyway, I've been seeing a lot of people make videos regarding the past Tekken talk of changes that were shown in Season 2 with the nerfs. First off, let me get the positive stuff out of the way, because I think a lot of people start off their videos with all the negative stuff, and yeah, I will get into that, but first things first, I'm glad for the change on Jin's 214 string. I'm glad that string, if you didn't know, they changed 214 in Season 2 to being -10 on the third hit. I think that's a W change, honestly, because a lot of brain dead Jin players would just spam 214, 214, 214. And even though 214 was -9 on block, generating that you get a free mix-up because that makes you +9. The fact that Jin could just threaten with it so much, and then on counter hit, it gives him a knockdown into QCF1 and whatnot, and you know, Jin having really good 50-50s, being a Mishima and all that, it's honestly a bit overwhelming because it felt like the character was just a bit too safe and didn't have much weaknesses. And another W change on the fact that they actually made Scourge, that's Jin's down 2. It's still -14 on block, but now it no longer has its counter hit properties, which I think is a massive W, big W. That's great. And what else did they nerf? I'm trying to get all the positives out of the way so this video doesn't turn into complete doom and gloom. Even though I completely understand why people are doom and glooming about the situation. Damn, I can't even remember any other W change. If I do remember it later on in the video, I'll mention it. But what people are not happy about is Namco recently gave us, I don't want to say they promised, but more so they said, keyword they said that they in Season 2 they would be looking to tone down the offense and try and focus more on the defensive aspects of Tekken, because Tekken is originally a defensive fighting game and it's starting to lose its identity. And I know for a lot of people that are watching this video, I know there's people that are dooming and glooming and they hate the new changes that they're seeing, but I also know that there's actually a lot of people that actually love the new changes that they're adding and that they're very hyped for it and whatnot. So for the people that don't really understand why people are dooming and glooming, let me just break it down for you. The reason people are dooming and glooming, or at least in my perspective, because you know, I've been playing Tekken since Tag 2, is that with each change, it seems like Tekken is starting to lose its identity. As far as, for instance, the reason I play multiple fighting games, even though I only tend to post maybe Tekken on the content, I do play Street Fighter 6, I play Skullgirls, I play Marvel vs. Capcom. Obviously, I play Tekken, I play Guilty Gear. I love Guilty Gear, I'm probably going to start posting that more on the channel. I play a plethora of fighting games. Oh, and I also play Darkstalkers. I play a plethora of fighting games, and the reason I play Tekken, or we play Tekken, because around the time, if you exclude Tekken 8, and maybe, if you exclude Tekken 8 and just consider like Tekken 7, T6, Revolution, Tag 2, Tekken was the only fighting game on the market that was a 3D fighter that was still alive, because most 3D fighters die, it's the truth. Tekken was the only fighting game in existence at the time that was a realistic approach to fighting. Like, the moves were very fluid, it wasn't a 2D fighter, the animations were based off of like real martial arts, Aikido, grappling, Muay Thai, and all that. Every Tekken game had a Muay Thai character, except for Tekken 8 right now. And it was very refreshing to play a fighting game that didn't have, at the time, didn't have any comeback mechanics. Like, you know, in Street Fighter, other 2D mechanics, people worry about really fast overheads, empty jump lows, comeback mechanics such as like super moves, or people would match super on Wake Up, or people would match Dragon Punch. People match reversal, invincible reversals on Wake Up, denying Oki and whatnot, so it was more like a guess. And you know, super mechanics and stuff like that, armor moves, hyper armor. Tekken was the only fighting game where it was just pure fighting. There is no situation where the game was paused, there's no rage arts. There's no super moves where the camera freezes and like they do like a dynamic cinematic cutscene and stuff like that. There's no armor moves. For essentially, there's really no comeback mechanics. Like, yes, I know Tekken 6 had rage, but in Tekken 6 you got rage at like 8% health, and you know the health pool was so small for when you actually did get range. Yes, you could technically make comebacks off of it, but you did have to work for it. Now in Tekken 8 or T7 or whatnot, like mainly Tekken 8, you're not really working for a lot of things. There's comeback mechanics. There's still some people, I know my friends that have been playing Tekken for a long time, longer than me, they're still getting used to the, now some people might say it's a skill issue, but they're still getting used to the fact that, right here, that there's a rage art. That's why I did a perfect sidestep when it's a block to bait out the rage art. But they're still getting used to issues like rage art belonging in a Tekken game. Like, it makes a lot of OG Tekken players feel alienated to their franchise, because the reason I play Tekken is completely different from the reason I play Street Fighter. I play Street Fighter for a different reason than I play Tekken. I play a game like Skullgirls. Skullgirls is one of my favorite games. I don't really take it too seriously because it's mostly high-low mix. It's a mixed fiesta. Like, everybody's getting mixed in that game, and that's fine because that's what Skullgirls is. It's fun. It's flashy. That's what Skullgirl is. Skullgirls isn't Tekken. I play Skullgirls for a different reason compared to what I play Tekken for. I play Guilty Gear, a game where you can air dash, you know, RC, cancel, whatnot. Like, yes, it's an anime fighter. You have all your traditional air dash and stuff like that. Those are cool in Guilty Gear. I like that in Guilty Gear. I like the, you know, fast-paced matchups in that type of game. If I want to play something really, really fast, I'll play like a 2D fighter like Skullgirls, Guilty Gear XR2. I'll play those games. I don't want to see those mechanics in Tekken, which is what Tekken is leading to. The point I'm trying to say is Tekken is losing its identity as being like that only pseudo-realistic fighting game with a slower pace where it's more centered around defense, because every fighting game is more mainly offensive. There's more, every fighting game is more offense than defense. Tekken is the only game, was the only fighting game that was more defense than offense, meaning if you had good matchup knowledge, this was the game where frame data meant the most. If you had good matchup knowledge, good frame data info, all that type of stuff, good spacing, good, like, you knew how to like backdash cancel, you knew how to sidestep at the right moments, sidewalk at the right moments, stuff like that. You can option select a lot of offensive options and pretty much play a very defensive game, which took a lot of skill to do, and it was honestly beautiful to watch people at high level option select a lot of options, duck, have the reaction to duck under high, so like Kazuya's down 4-1-2, duck the high, punish. It was really exciting to watch, and then also on top of that, the amazing movement. And when you watch high-level players play the game, it felt amazing to see. It felt like a work of art that was being displayed on the screen. Now, this game is starting to look like every other game, and with all these recent buffs that they're doing, every character is starting to lose their identity and more or less play the self. I know some people like to exaggerate and say, oh, everybody has 50-50s in the game. No, that's not true. Not everybody has 50-50s in the game. You only say a character is a 50-50 if they have a normal hit knockdown low that is unreactable, like Mishimas are called, and then they obviously have the mid option. Lee is not a 50-50 character. He can't pop heat and just do instant 50-50s. He's not a 50-50 character. Nina, as top tier as she is, she's not a 50-50 character. Nina's more of a pressure character that wants you to try and take your turn and stuff and harass you. So can't really put her on the 50-50 category nonsense. But yes, there is a lot of characters that could put you in a 50-50, or what I would like to say a pseudo 50-50, where maybe like it's characters like Brian where they got such good offensive, they just got such good offensive. Also, another thing with Brian, they still haven't patched his to my knowledge, they still haven't patched his heat burst. If you didn't realize, there was an update where you could sidewalk left or right every heat burst, and they would have 0 tracking. Brian still has really good tracking on his heat burst, and I'm not sure if that was something that was intended or the devs missed. But to not ramble on too much, as I am rambling, this game's losing its identity. A lot of the core audience, like the Tekken veterans and the pros, and when I say veterans, I'm not talking about high level players. I'm talking about people that have stick with Tekken for a very long time because they truly appreciate the mechanics of Tekken and they love it and stuff like that. Like that's what they like about the franchise. and obviously the pros are also involved because they've also been putting a lot of time into the game. It feels like we're at that point where we're being alienated out of the franchise. It's okay if I understand that, yeah, you know what, maybe Tekken's not for my audience no more. It's not, I'm not part of the target audience, and that's cool. It is what it is. There's nothing I can really do about that. But the way Namco's acting is like they're kind of acting like Tekken players are just like, oh, they're gonna buy Tekken no matter what. We don't gotta really change anything. We don't gotta really make the game better at a defensive measure or whatnot. We can just do whatever we want because we essentially already have the hardcore players' wallets. They've already bought the game. They've already bought the DLC. They're probably still gonna keep playing the game, so we're not gonna bother and try and appease them. And as a business practice, I understand that you appeal to the majority of players. And I understand they're trying to get casuals, but what they don't realize about casual players is they're casual for a reason. They don't really stay long. Yes, they may stay longer with a game if they feel like they're winning, which is what this game is trying to do. Tekken is trying to incentivize players to keep playing by making them feel like they're actually good at the game when they're not, or they're subpar at best. They're trying to make mediocre players feel like they're godlike. And what that does is that gives you more dopamine, and when you have more dopamine, you're more likely to engage in the same type of behavior over and over because it's a rewarding feeling. It's like drugs. Like it's like when people get addicted to drugs. You get addicted to something, and then it's hard to break the habit because that addiction normally generates a lot of dopamine in your system to make you hooked on doing whatever it is you're doing or participating in whatever it is you're doing. And from a business perspective, yes, that's smart. The casuals only go so far. I remember Harada and T7 said, oh, the only reason I didn't put the frame data in the game is because most people wouldn't even use it. The only reason I didn't consider buffing the netcode in Tekken 7 is because most people play on Wi-Fi anyway, so that's why they have bad internet connection when they play the game and stuff like that. And to a point, yes, he is right. And I also like to point out the fact that Harada said he's letting most of his new bloods handle like the development changes in the game, which is probably why this game is kind of cooked, as we would call it, for Season 2. I mean, there was, in that presentation, maybe it was just poorly structured, but there was no sign of, oh, we're buffing defensive options. I think what they meant is maybe later on in other Tekken Talk we will see more of that defensive options, and maybe they're just trying to show us the quote-unquote like massive changes, because they did say in Season 2 you will be able to sidewalk into the foreground, which is huge because that's never been a thing in Tekken, which is automatically going to drop a lot of characters down. Like, you know, Nina, for instance, is going to come down when that change happens. Drag might come down a little bit because now when you get hit by down 2, you can sidewalk into the foreground and avoid the wall standing 4 follow-up, which is what most Dragunov players tend to do when they do land a down 2, to keep you conditioned into not pressing or doing anything, so they can open you up for more options. But I'm looking forward to that. I do think that's a good change, and they also made it so that there's round start input buffering, so when you do a down forward 1 or a jab, you can actually float someone that's hop kicking if you know they're going to hop kick at the start of the round. And I know I'm trying to keep an open mind because, you know what, Season 2 hasn't started. I should at least play it first. But it's really hard to stay positive with what I'm seeing in the game and how they treat players. And, like, if you even slightly critique the game and it's in a negative way, it's like Harada he just blocks you, just been like, whatever, I don't really care. Like, you're ignorant if you disagree. Or maybe that's not what he's, you know, trying to make it look like, but that's just what it comes off as when people see it from outside looking in. But Anna being able to do double the chip damage while she's in heat, for those of you that don't know, Anna now has a RPG mechanic like this is Final Fantasy. She has a debuff where she can essentially do this missile that's plus, and if you block it, you now take chip damage without her having to be in heat, which is crazy. And if you are in heat, you actually take double the chip damage. So, yeah, that's fun. Yeah, you would probably take double the chip damage. And for whatever reason, I don't know who at the dev team is conducting this nonsense, but Anna has like a 13 frame high crushing heat smash that when blocked puts her in full crouch, and obviously Anna is the queen of full crouch. She's a 50-50 full crouch character that takes most of her 50-50s from full crouch. So yeah, that's kind of nutty. It really seems like they don't really want us to be working for anything. Asuka got some buffs too. She now has forward. She now has forward 2 +3 4-4-2-3 charge, where you can actually charge the second hit. Maybe that doesn't seem too problematic because I'm sure you can visually see her charging it and then start beginning the sidewalk to her weak side, but I don't know. I haven't played Season 2, so we'll probably find out when that does come out. But some of the buffs I was looking at her getting were completely unnecessary, and Reina getting better lows and all these extra features, it seems like they're trying to alienate characters' weaknesses. Like, what made Tekken interesting to play wasn't just the movement and the fact that it was a realistic 3D fighter for the most part. It was also the fact that when they made characters, they gave characters weaknesses. Like, they gave characters, like, if a character would be really strong in one area where it's obvious, but they would be terrible in another area. Like characters like Lily has amazing sidewalking, like the best movement in the game when it comes to stepping the opponent and whatnot. What are our weaknesses? She doesn't have a good punish outside of 12 frames. For 12 frames, she just has 4-2-3 is good, but she doesn't have a good 13 frame punish, a good 14 frame punish. She does have a good 15 frame punish with a hop kick and whatnot, but also Lily actually has horrible tracking. The character with the best movement also has really bad tracking. So it actually is easy to make Lily whiff in regards if you actually sidestep with her, or just condition her to a lot of tracking moves to stop her from stepping at you constantly. And then you had characters like Steve that accelerated and counter hit and like poking and making it hard for you to take the turn. And also on top of that, Steve tracked amazing. Steve has like probably the best tracking in the game. What's Steve's weaknesses? He has the worst punishment in the game, which is fair, right? They gave him a clear strength, but they also gave him an obvious weakness. I mean, they also gave him an evasive. They gave him an evasive AOP option, so not really an AOP option, but an evasive sway back, which is really strong, really good. And with Reina, her weakness was she had everything good, but her lows were bad. Her lows didn't really give much frame advantage. And on top of that, like, some people make the argument that her lows aren't even as bad as they seem because she has an untechable throw, which also switch sides. And the thing with an untechable throw is in order to deal with it, you have to duck. Well, how do you deal with a low? You're forced to duck. So essentially, her untechable throws are, in a continuation, also her lows too on top of that. So her getting better lows, getting better low option kind of defeats like her weakness, making it so all characters are starting to have less and less weaknesses to the point where eventually if they keep this up, every character is essentially going to play exactly the same, have no flaws. The only difference, if they keep this up, the only difference in characters will be characters that have 50-50s in knockdowns and characters that don't have 50-50s in knockdowns, and that's it. But aside from that, every other character is going to play the same. Every round is going to look the same. Every match is going to look the same. I think we're going to get to a point where I could have JDCR and me playing on the screen right now, and I could just cover up the names and tell somebody this is an online match and tell them to guess the players, and they wouldn't be able to guess. They probably wouldn't be able to guess who's playing, honestly. I guarantee you it's going to start to look something like that, something very similar. And I'm aware Anna's the only character in the game that has this debuff option where she can do chip damage without heat. And, you know, if that's unique to her, okay, but we also got to talk about if you're in heat now, when somebody techs a throw and you're in heat, I mean, if you tech a throw and the opponent's in heat, you now take chip damage. And the reason that's so problematic is because people have to actually practice and put effort to actually learn how to break throws and get their reactions up. Now you're getting punished for doing the right thing, which is essentially breaking the throw. And not to mention, most throws that you break in this game are only -2 when you break the throw. Or there are some throws where, like, if you break the throw, there's 0 after the throw break, after you breaking the throw. Some are -2, and some are actually even, there are certain throws in this game that are actually +1 to +2 when you break their throw, right? I think Hayate has a throw that's similar like this. I'm trying to remember which throw input, but that was also something that was in Tekken Tag 2. The only reason I think if they wanted to make this change where you take chip damage if you break someone's throw, they should probably make it so every time you break a throw, regardless of if it's a 1 throw, a 2 throw, or 1+2 throw, they should probably make it that the opponent that had their throw break is always -6 whenever they get their throw break. So now they do chip damage, but now they put themselves in a -6 situation every time their opponent breaks their throw. Making it, that probably balance it out a lot more, making it so that people could actually get, you know, take their turn back more efficiently. Because most characters can sidestep at -5 or lower, so I think putting it at -6 makes it a lot more fair. But aside from that, nothing I've really seen in the changes had me too excited aside from the 214 nerf on Jin, Jin's down 2 nerf, Yoshimitsu's flash nerf. I think those are big W changes. But I'm not really sure how I feel about the King buffs. I know King's very popular in Japan, and I think Moonstone Slayer made a video stating that maybe they want to appeal to the Japanese audience by buffing King. But I'm not really sure how valid that is as a criteria for buffing a character. And again, there's no spokes about fixing anything that was already impacting the game. Like certain characters still have tracking on their heat bursts. There's no talks about maybe nerfing the plus frames on heat smashes, because the main issue with this game is this game's too stressful. This game's causing burnout. Even when I was playing in the tournament yesterday, I lost to a Dragunov player at the very end of my TNS run. And what was so annoying is I was probably like one round away for closing out the set. But there was just so much offensive options where like you get in Tekken 7, like there was some relief because if your opponent was low on health, right, and then they used the Rage Art and you blocked it, you felt relief because then it's like, okay, I can punish this Rage Art with whatever I want, right? And then now that they use the Rage Art, even if they're not dead after you punish them, they can't do a Rage Drive, they can't do another Rage Art, so it took the stress away. You had a feeling of relief, like, yes. Or if you were fighting a character, let's say Yoshimitsu did their Rage Drive, you're like, and he blocked it, you're like, yes, he doesn't have his access to his Rage Drive no more, and he doesn't have access to Rage Art no more. But in this game, there is really no relief. Like, you could block someone's Heat Smash, and when you block the Heat Smash, it's like, yes, I blocked the Heat Smash. It's, oh no, I blocked the Heat Smash. He's now +8, and he gets to get a free mix-up on top of doing chip damage to me. And then it's like, after you do block right, it's like, wait, I'm still not out yet. This guy's in rage. That means he's gonna do more damage, and he still has access to a rage art. You know what I mean? Like, there's just too many variables and stuff to worry about in this game. I also appreciate the fact that they're getting rid of armored heat engages. I don't really think how that should have made it past the beta test, but I'm glad they're removing that. That's another W. I want to give Namco their props whenever I feel like they do something right, and that was something they definitely did right. But it would be nice if there was more relief. Maybe, like, they could make it where, like, if you... Like, I don't know, maybe they can make it where, like, maybe this is just a suggestion, but when they were getting backlash about, like, the fact that when someone's in heat and you tuck or throw, you take chip damage, the response was, well, you don't spend all the time in heat. But if you think about it, you spend somewhere from 80 to 60% of the match in rounds in heat. Because a lot of rounds can go by really fast just by somebody entering heat. So I feel like that's a really weak argument to say, like, oh, it's only in heat. I'm like, yeah, but you spend the majority of the match in heat, or if you don't spend the majority of the match in heat, your opponent probably going to spend the majority of the match in heat. So that's not really a comforting thing to say to somebody or anybody. So I'm going to try and stay hopeful for Season 2. Well, I'm not really hopeful, I'm going to just try and stay neutral. I'm not going to feel negative, I'm not going to feel positive. We'll see how Season 2 pans out when Season 2 actually does come out. Maybe it's not going to be as bad as we think it is, but it's not really looking good with full crouch plus 17 mix-ups that they literally incorporated just because of Anna, let's be honest. New DLC character comes out and they make a massive change like that, and they give her mechanic that nobody else has. What I'm thinking is they gave her this so she's really strong. She'll automatically be top 10, most likely, but we'll probably have backtracking. And then once they sell enough units on Anna, they'll nerf Anna before they launch their next DLC character, and the next DLC character will probably be stronger. Something like that. Something like that, right? But honestly, I can't really say I'm too happy for it. Do I think some people are overreacting? Not really, because it depends on what type of player. If they've been with this franchise for a long time, and then they're starting to see stuff like that, obviously they're going to feel pretty, They're going to feel alienated. they're gonna feel alienated out the game, and then it's like it's such a horrible feeling. Like they're practically what, like they're getting kicked out of the game. They're getting they're getting removed or something. Like they're like it's obvious that it's not for them. So why would they be excited about something that's not for them? If you like the new season 2 changes, that's great. Let me know in the comments or whatnot. But please try to understand why some people might not be into that. If it's for you, that's great. If it's not for you, you can't, don't try and flame someone that's not for these new changes, because this game's too aggressive, and I think they definitely need to tone down the offensive options and give players an actual chance to breathe when they play Tekken 8. Because this game can get really toxic really fast. And I have this theory that when you play a game, when you lower the skill gap in a game, it actually creates a more toxic environment, because now players think that they're nice at the game when they're actually not nice, and they're getting carried, but they don't want to admit to it because they're liking the results that they're getting. So of course they're going to say, oh nah, get good or whatever, right? And you create a really hostile environment, because I'm pretty sure I'm seeing more one and done, more key charging than I've ever seen in the Tekken game before. And it's because a lot of people, this game's giving people a lot of big egos, because they are tricked into thinking they're good at the game when they're actually not good. Like, I think Fighting GM does a bunch of videos where he's probably playing people at max rank, and even GM's questioning, like, bruh, how did they get there? And a lot of people say he's toxic, but I don't think he's toxic. I think he's actually right, because I find myself thinking the same thing. And I'm not somebody on Fighting GM's player level of skill. I haven't won tournament, like big ass tournaments like Fighting GM and stuff like that. So I understand where he's coming from, because a lot of players can see it. I feel a lot of players with like at God of Destruction with like really horrible stats and defense, they don't really have much character and matchup knowledge. They swing every time they're negative, and I'm just like, can a character really carry that hard? But a lot of times I don't really think it's carrying. I think it's more so that this game has a massive player base, so obviously it's easier to rank up. But I rambled on too long. Point is, to make it short, that I'm gonna try and stay neutral for the changes. I'm not really excited. I'm really hoping that they do incorporate some more defensive aspects next time they do a Tekken talk. For those of you in the comment section, let me know what you think about the Season 2 changes. Let me know if you think it's a W and L, whatnot. I mean, this video, I said I was going to make this video short, and I ended up making it like damn near a 30-minute yap session. So I don't know if you guys enjoyed the commentary. If not, let me know in the comment section. I'm out. I do stream this game quite often on Twitch, so if you actually want to play viewer matches with me or whatnot, or ask me more stuff about the game, or you want me to go back to making like tutorials for characters or something like that, let me know. I'm out. Enjoy the rest of the video. Have a nice day.
Isn't it past your bedtime?